Good.
All right, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Okay. Finished up a good Tuesday practice. Actually did also practice very short and very, very light on Sunday, and then had our typical Sunday practice on Monday, which is usually our day off. We're going to take our day off this coming Saturday for this week. And so, spent a lot of time Sunday looking at the scrimmage tape from Friday. Then yesterday started our install of UCF and worked a lot of special team situations, and then had our typical Tuesday practice today. So, trying to start, orienting all of the new additions and the young kids just to, what practice week looks like, what a game week looks like, introduction of the scout teams, look teams. So now you have, part of our team running UCF offense and defensive plays against our, first and second units. So, a lot of change this week. And then, finally an emphasis on somebody besides ourselves, an emphasis on the University of Central Florida. So good start to the week. Really want to kind of work out all the kinks and all the wrinkles this week. That way we can go into next week kind of locked in and ready to go.
Okay, we'll open up questions for Coach Houston.
Coach, Jeremy Lewis was a guy we saw a little bit of last year, but I know he dealt with some stuff up and down. But do you feel like he's getting more healthy, and maybe we'll see some more of that potential this year?
Yeah, I do. And, he's battled some nagging stuff during preseason camp. The difference in this year and last year's, last year he let the little stuff, twisted ankle or a strained hip flexor or something like that. He let that stuff, hold him out last year. He pushed through it during preseason camp. We were able to get him some rest over the weekend, get him back going full speed, and really feel good about the, the kind of preseason camp he's had.
Coach, were you back in full pads today? And as far as the Tuesday practice being a game week practice, what exactly does that entail, or is it some of the scout stuff like you said earlier?
Right. Well, we were in full pads today. Heavy emphasis on the coverage teams in the kicking game. Had some live field goal block work at the end of practice. Had some good on good sessions where it's still, ones against ones and twos against twos for about 10 minutes of, kind of offense and defense, about 10 minutes of Skelly. Everything else was scouted. So we had a lot of different scouted periods, doing some different things on each side of the ball, depending on what we were doing. But still some competition stuff, perimeter drill today, some one-on-one stuff.
Coach, I know you're about the business of winning football games. You've got one of the better records of any coach that we've had here at East Carolina. Can you address what a win against a team like UCF that's currently ranked 13th in the country would do to both jumpstart your football program and to adjust the mindset a little bit of the fans overall at East Carolina?
Well, I think back to the other programs, that we've led, and you always remember that first signature win, that first big win that kind of validates what you're doing. It'll come in time. I don't know when it's going to come. I'd love for it to be the 26th, and I think we're going to play well against Central Florida. I think it's going to be a great game. But when that time comes, really, what it does is, that's you usually see a switch that has flipped within your players. The Cincinnati game last year is a great example. For 3.5 quarters, we played a phenomenal ball game, but we didn't finish it. When that switch flips, you start finishing those games. You start closing out the Cincinnati game, closing out the SMU game. I just think back to my second year at the Citadel. When I got there, everybody told us, don't set your expectations too high. You can't win championships here. You want to be competitive. Go out and win your fair share, but don't put your expectations too high. And the kids believed that when we got there. That second year, those kids, when we knocked off Wofford, first time that the Citadel beaten them in like 20 years. We knocked off Wofford at home. That game was the signature win. And we rattled off many more that year, but that was the win that did it. And so you always remember that one win. So It's coming. I don't know when it is. Hopefully it's next Saturday.
So
Could be
oh, go ahead.
could be more, I guess, a fan type question, but just since it came out yesterday, what are your thoughts on the noon kickoff and ESPN Plus and kind of having some details with that, I guess?
Well, I told the kids a few minutes ago, I've got a game day operations meeting tomorrow. That means we're getting ready for game day. You have a kickoff time set and you know what channel it's on. Do I wish it was, 7:00 prime time? Absolutely. But, 12 o'clock's fine too. We're just ready to go play a game.
And Coach, I was going to ask you that very thing. It's the very fact that just to have a game right now feels great, even though we unfortunately can't have fans and it's going to be a different environment. Just to have a game feels great next week.
Absolutely. And it's with everything, not having a spring, not having an off season. We've had a long camp, with so many new kids, so many young kids. We're just excited to see them in a college football game. For a lot of these kids, it's going to be the first time they've ever taken a snap at the college level. I'm excited to see what they do, excited to see how they react.
Hey, Coach, I want to go back to you guys being in full pads. And I believe I remember you saying last week that you can't learn how to tackle without tackling. You can't learn how to play real football without playing real football. Do you feel like you'll have to amp up the practices, especially when it comes to, the basic drills to get your guys prepared due to the time that you guys missed during the summer?
Well, that's what we tried to do throughout preseason camp. Our live work, the last live work we're going to have before Central Florida was last Friday. And so that scrimmage is the last time that we're going to tackle our offensive backs to the ground. Now, the scout work that we get defensively and the scout work we get offensively, it's a pretty aggressive thud tempo. So it's close, but it's not quite there. I think we've got to constantly, create some competitive situations in practice, to really make our guys play fast against speed. That's going to be the key for us. The second key for us is going to be, knowing when to dial it back and make sure that we're fresh for the game.
Thank you.
Like at some of the North Carolina games across the state, there were a few parents, not a ton.
Right.
But that's something that perhaps could happen for the UCF game for like the upperclassmen?
Yes, we're allowed 50 fans in our 50,000 seat stadium. So we're going to prioritize, our upperclassmen parents, still working out the details of, how many tickets a kid can get. If we give everybody 2, then that's, obviously only 25 kids can get tickets. So we're going to try to, work a structure to where it's fair to our juniors and seniors. And hopefully everybody can at least get 1 ticket.
Coach, this feels like the longest preseason ever. I feel like we've asked you everything. So put you a bit on the spot here. What's been the biggest surprise for your football team this preseason? Have you noticed anything that surprised you?
The change in culture in the locker room, the positive attitudes. There's no griping and belly aching and locker room lawyers and, just handling crap. It's been a group that I've really enjoyed during preseason camp, and so it feels more like your kids.
Coach, I know there's been some talk about having a relevant social motto on the uniforms. Has there been any discussion about recognizing Pat Dye as a former East Carolina coach this year with his passing recently?
For me, I haven't had any discussions along those lines. Certainly, when Coach Dye passed, had a few words then. Certainly Coach Dye is someone I respect greatly. The first college football game that I ever witnessed in person when I was a kid, he was the head coach at Auburn. And of course, I knew his legacy here and got the opportunity to speak with him on the phone last year when I got the job. So, certainly we all owe Coach Dye a lot. I don't know if the administration has anything planned this year for Coach Dye or not, but those decisions will be made at that level.
Coach, earlier this week, Coach Harrell mentioned that you guys would be rotating 12 people at the defensive line. Will you see a similar rotation at other positions as far as like getting as many guys time as possible?
We're going to play a lot of kids on defense, and we're going to play a lot of kids on offense too. It's one of those things where it was what it was when I got here last year from a standpoint of the depth on the roster, especially on the defensive side, and it's due to priorities and recruiting. We recruited heavily on the defensive side of the ball and specific offensive positions the last recruiting cycle, and we did it to enable us to do that. If we can keep fresh bodies on the field, that allows us to play, at a higher level throughout 4 quarters.
Going back real quick to the scout team stuff, we talked a lot about building depth, and you have to have 3-4 string guys ready. Is that a balance now of you need scout team players, but they also might be guys who could play in a game, and they need to be ready to play too?
Sure, and that's I talk, especially this year. I mean, I think this year everybody better be ready to play, because you never know who is going to get pulled on, your Friday COVID test. Yeah, it's the reality. There are some kids that are on our scout offense or scout defense that will travel and play on special teams. There are guys, we have seen it many years, where there's a guy at the beginning of the year on the scout team that ends up starting by the end of the year. And that's the thing you love about college football. And that's the thing, that I try to preach to our kids is, you're going to earn your time based on your performance. Once we get out there, I don't care who they are, what their last name is, what class they are, scholarship walk-on, doesn't matter. I don't care. The best players are going to be the ones that takes the snaps on game days.
Coach, I wanted to ask you, one of your former players at James Madison, Jimmy Moreland, actually got a really big interception in the Washington game against Philadelphia.
He did.
I know if you got a chance to see that, I've been dying to ask you the last 2 days your thoughts on him.
I did. It was classic Jimmy. I mean, he's a great athletic play. Should have scored. He's great with the ball in his hands. Just a great athlete. And I heard Coach Rivera's comments about him after the game, and they were classic Jimmy. He's got that contagious personality. Everybody loves being around him. He can be playful at times. When he steps on that field, he's a competitor. So really proud of him. Looking forward to seeing what all he does this year.
Coach, can you bring us up to date on the COVID-19 situation overall and how it affects East Carolina and where you are in the state of overall affairs with that?
We're getting better. We've got a large number that came out of quarantine this week. Some of them were in isolation, so they're in the return to play protocol. Some of them were just in quarantine, so they're just, they started back practicing, in the last day. And so it's, they're at a variety of different levels. We do have one active positive case still out. I do not anticipate that player being available for Central Florida. But, the hopes is that we can, get everybody back this week. That way everybody's ready to go at the beginning of next week, and we can do a great job with our testing the next 2 weeks and have the rest of the roster available to play.
Any other questions for Coach Houston this afternoon? Okay, Coach, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you on Thursday.
Okay, see you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
She knows when she's going to do it.